So you've clicked on this video because you've just started to get the hang of what Genshin Impact is all about, and you're ready to take your gameplay to the next level. You're seeing people do nice numbers and you think to yourself, man, how do people do that? I want to do that too. Don't worry, I've got you covered. This video is going to give you a few tips on how to help you get started on taking your Genshin Impact journey to the next level, which is learning how to build your damage dealing characters. You see, at least how I like to think of it, there are two different types of ways to build your damage dealing characters. So I'll go over those first. Then we'll go over artifact sets and talents. And just before we start, let me just say that this is my understanding and interpretation of how building works in Genshin Impact. If you have your own thought process when it comes to building up your characters, leave a comment down below. It might help people out. Now, let's get started. Oh, also, a fun little game for you at home. Take a sip of water every time I say the phrase, "it depends," or the word "depending." Ready? Let's go. I call this the standard build because this is the build you're going to want to use for characters whose attacks don't scale off of things like HP or defense. This sort of build has a free-to-play version and a battle pass holder version, so let's get into it. For free-to-plays, you're going to want to get a weapon with attack percent. However, if you've got unlucky and you have a weapon with crit rates, or you've saved up enough star glitter to get a crit damage weapon through the Blackcliff series, then use that. That's pretty much ideal. But if you don't have a weapon with crit rate or crit damage as the main stat, an attack percent weapon will do just fine in the meantime. There are plenty of weapons with attack percent, so it's important to read the description of these weapons to see if the passive goes with your character. I won't go over that because it depends on what character you want to build. This is because everybody plays the game differently. What might be a support character for one person might be somebody else's DPS. But just know that as you play the game more, you will come to understand what weapons go well with each character. For artifacts, you're going to want an attack percent sands, an elemental damage bonus cup, and either a crit rate or crit damage hats, depending on what you need most. This is why it's important to get crit rate and crit damage substats on your other artifacts, so that you can get an idea on if you need to give your character a crit rate or a crit damage hat. In my opinion, anywhere between 50 to 80% crit rate is enough, while your crit damage should be at 150% or above. On top of this, you're going to want as much attack on your character as possible. It's all about finding the right balance between crit rates, crit damage, and the amount of attack your character has. Again, this might be different depending on who you ask, but this is the standard that I usually hold myself to. For people who pay for the battle pass, building characters is a little easier, as you're able to get weapons with crit rates once you reach level 30 on the battle pass. Getting crit rate weapons is easier this way, because then you're not at the mercy of pulling a crit rate weapon, nor are you at the mercy of having to wait for the Blackcliff series to come back to the shop. At least with the battle pass, you can pretty much get a crit rate weapon each time it resets. So for weapons, you're going to want a crit rate weapon from the battle pass, then you're going to want an attack percent sands, an elemental damage cup, and a crit damage hat. It's the same principle as the free-to-play route, but it's just been made a bit easier because you have a crit rate weapon. For substats, you'd mainly be looking for crit rate, crit damage, attack, and energy recharge, but for some characters like Yaimiko, they would benefit from having other stats, like for example elemental mastery, but again it depends on the character. This build is for damage dealing characters whose attacks don't scale off of attack, but instead a different stat, like HP or defense. Now I'm going to use Hu Tao as an example here, mainly because I use her the most when it comes to characters who need builds like this. So firstly, you're going to want a crit related weapon, then you're going to want a HP sands, since that's what her attacks scale off of. Then you're going to want an elemental damage bonus cup, so in this case pyro, and then finally a crit hat depending on what weapon you have. So simply put, it's similar to the standard build, except instead of an attack percent sans, you want a sans with a different main stat. And in Hu Tao's case, it's HP percent. A similar approach can be taken for other characters whose attacks don't scale off of attack, so for Ito for example, you'd want to farm a defense percent sans, a geo damage cup, and a crit hat. For this sort of build, it's all about knowing what your character's attacks scale off of. For substats, again, you're going to want crit rate and crit damage, but you'll also be looking for the stat that your character scales off of. For artifact sets, again, it depends on the character. The more you play the game, the more familiar you'll become with them. But regardless, here's my take. Some characters, like the Raiden Shogun for example, have their own dedicated artifact sets. However, this isn't the case for every character. If a character isn't ran on a 4-piece set, most likely you'll be seeing them ran with a 2-piece set that gives them an elemental damage bonus, and Gladiator's Finale or another artifact set that increases attack by 18%. However, again, this isn't always the case. Cryo DPS characters can be ran with 4-piece Blizzard due to the additional crit rates, with the exception of Ganyu, who can be ran on Wanderers. God, this is a lot. Okay, The beauty of Genshin Impact is that there's room for you to chop and change and see what build works for you. This is because the artifact system, much like a lot of things in this game, is determined randomly. This makes everybody's building experience different and unique, which is why you see people running different artifact sets for the same character. Someone might have a ton of crit rate substats, and as such, they may not even need to run 4-piece Blizzard on Ayaka. However, you might need to. It depends. You'll be able to know what talents to level up the more you play with your character. You'll find that there will be a part of their kit that you use more than anything else, which will make that part of their kit worth leveling up their talent for. It depends on the character, and it depends on what you personally use them for. For instance, people often level up Beidou's Burst the most, because it provides good electro support. While I agree that her burst is definitely worth leveling up, I've crowned her counter because I love using it. It's all subjective and it depends on how you want to play this game. And that's the basics of building damage dealing characters. At least, it's how I've interpreted it. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment. If you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow my socials. Until next time, I'll see you later.
Hey there. If you like Genshin Impact, Animal Crossing or games in general, join our chill Discord server. Thanks and have a nice day.